Chapter 6. A Mother Advice. After discovering her beginning pregnancy that came from her mating with Spike, she was looking forward to find out what she was going to have, but at the same time, she was a bit worried of the road ahead of her. The thrill of giving birth to a newborn foal was both exciting and terrifying at the same time, but she did her best to hide her fright most of the time, especially around Spike. Speaking of Spike, still couldn't fully make out of how he felt about becoming a daddy. He always thought that he wouldn't be one for a long time, but still kept his nerves under control and accepted his fate. No matter how bad things could get, he chose to not abandon Apple Bloom for helpful reasons, but also because he truly did love Apple Bloom, whether he got her pregnant or not. It's not halfway into the week until Apple Bloom's next appointment to see the rival of her future foal's gender. She was excited. Now late in the morning of that day, Apple Bloom was on her way to meet with her friends down at Sugar Cube Corner. She was probably just walking along, showing off what she had on board, but suddenly she came across a couple fillies that were glad to finally see her, for the most part. Well, if it isn't the filly pregger of Ponyville. Nice little belly you got there. Oh, hey, Diamond Tiara, Apple Bloom said with a smile. Thanks for the compliment. Wait a minute. You were being sarcastic just now, weren't you? You think? Come on, Tiara, be nicer to her, said Silver Spoon. In truth, we're both actually amazed and a bit jealous of what happened to you mating with Spike. Must have been something else. Or it sure was, said Apple Bloom with a sly smirk. But how did you two know about it? Diamond Tiara ain't her brow thinking that she was joking. You're kidding, right? It was like the most talked about article in the Ponyville news press about 3 days ago. She then took out the newspaper from a bag she was wearing and dropped it down in front of Apple Bloom to prove it to her. Unless you had your head stuck under a rock, you would have easily known about it. Apple Bloom saw a picture of herself and another of Spike on the paper from page that said, "Surprisingly, pregnancy makes country filly and a dragon resign becoming parents." It was then went on explaining more details on the subject. She tilted her head, feeling a bit impressed on how fast the news had spread. Huh? So that was those mysterious flashes that I saw that other day were. At least they got my good side. A fool from a pony and a dragon, said Silver Spoon, imagining her head. I wonder how that was going to look like. I don't know, said Apple Bloom, as she wagged her tail. But I'm pretty excited for myself, if not a bit nervous. But she then became curious of what those two did during her event. So, what about you two? Did any of y'all have some fun during that heat session? Tiara chose to not to say a word, but Silver Spoon decided to. I didn't, but I heard that Tiara here got it on us with some pony. Silver Spoon, Tiara shouted. Tell my business, why don't you? Oh, well, she asked. Apple Bloom had a low eye expression on her face, smiling at and looking at Tiara as she asked, "Dare I ask who the lucky colt is?" Tiara just sighed, and as she rolled her eyes and admitted, "Just some random pony I hardly knew. He came by me, and I was desperate. He was was interested and my dad was nowhere around to stop us. So we did it. But at least I didn't get pregnant like you did. Apple Bloom chuckled and held her stomach while saying, "Hey, I didn't say anything. Congrats on your newfound experience." She then looked up at the town's clock tower and saw the time. Gasping, she got a bit frantic. "Oh, I got to get going. I'm meeting with the other Crusaders at Sugar Cube Corners." She then waved back at Silver Spoon and Tiara as she walked off. "It was nice running into y'all, too." Silver Spoon smirked at Tiara and told her, "I think you could have made a great mother." "Oh, be quiet," Tiara groaned. Apple Bloom successfully made her way to the Sugar Cube Corners as her friends and Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo were waiting in for her just outside the doors. Though she was glad to spend more time with her friends, she was a bit obvious of why they were really there. "Apple Bloom, you just made it," Sweetie Belle shouted. "As of course I did. You girls called and I came. By the way, what's the obsession besides hanging out with my best Philly friends?" Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle looked at each other with slightly troublesome look. Then they placed a smile back at her on their faces as they looked back at their friends. And Scootaloo said, "Well, we sort of heard about a few ponies, about females becoming pregnant and going to parenthood. We wanted to do something big with you before you have to stop, hanging out with us a lot." What are you talking about? Apple Bloom retorted. "What made you think that we're going to hang out less after I have this baby?" "The responsibilities," Sweetie Belle responded. "Every pony knows that having a baby is a big responsibility and can take away a lot of free time for other things. We should have as much fun together as we can before that happens." Apple Bloom chuckled a bit from her worry her friends were about her situation, thinking it wasn't that serious. "Come on, girls. You're overreacting. This whole thing, the baby or not, we'll still be able to spend many times with each other. Just with a few distractions. But anyway, let's go in here and hang out a bit anyway." "That's all we ask," said Scootaloo. The three teenage fillies walked inside of the shop with a bell ringing, announced their arrival. As they walked up to the front corner, they were greeted with the female owner of the building, Miss Cake. "Good morning, girls," she said, and then smirked at Apple Bloom and mother-to-be. "Nice to see you too, Miss Cake," said Apple Bloom with an angry eyebrow. Miss Cake chuckled slightly, feeling a bit embarrassed of her behavior. "Sorry, I can't help feel a bit excited when a pony I know becomes a mother, "I understand, and don't worry. I'm getting used to these many different reactions of being a parent." Sweetie Belle smiled and patted Apple Bloom on her back. "But it's definitely helped that she made it with the dragon, though." "Oh, yes," said Miss Cake. "Thinking about Spike, how is the young dragon, by the way?" "He's doing all right. He still has a long way to go before he gets his realization of becoming a father. But other than that, he's dealing with some situation much better than he was before. He'll be fine in the end. Just y'all wait and see." "That is wonderful to hear," Miss Cake responded. "So, what would you girls like to order?" "I'll just have a couple of blueberry cookies, please," said Sweetie Belle. "I'll take one of those awesome rainbow berry dashies," said Scootaloo. And knowing of why the girls were here in her family's house in the first place, she asked Apple Bloom again, "And what will you have, Apple Bloom?" "Don't be picky and just choose anything you want." Apple thought about it for a second and then had an interesting idea. Well, you know, I always have a hankering for a slice of your apple spice pie. Miss Cake smiled and nodded. I completely understand. Yep, so I'll take 3 slices, please. Suddenly the whole room went silent as Miss Cake and Apple Bloom friends froze in shock, staring at her. Miss Cake hastily told her, are you sure about that? Don't worry, I have a bit. I have bites. I have bits right here. No, that not what I meant exactly. You usually ask for 1 slice of this since it's so filling with for you, and sometimes too I want to challenge yourself. So, are you sure about asking for 3? Applebloom looked at her as well as her 2 friends said, and she just calmly said, "Sure, I just feel really hungry right now for some reason." Miss Cake still wasn't sure about Applebloom's request, but then she realized the possibility of her sudden growth of hunger inside as she said, "Well, okay, then I'll be right back with your treats." After Miss Cake went to the back, Sweetie Belle whispered to Scootaloo's ear while smirking, and so it begins. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Scootaloo whispered back. Suddenly the silence has broken by the sound of little hoofs coming from upstairs. The Crusaders saw the Cake twins' daughter, Pumpkin Cake, rushing out from the bottom of the stairs, only to dive down upon from behind her twin brother, Pound Cake. He gave her a little tap on as he went by, the smile proudly as he laughed. He landed down. Hey, no fair, Pound, Pumpkin shouted. You can't use your wings like that on me. That's cheating. Well, that's what you get for using magic on me before, said Pound. That's cheating also. Is not. Is too. Is not. Their mother suddenly heard from from the other room and poked her head out and glared at them. Pumpkin and Pound Cake, what did I tell you about playing tag in the house? She started it. Both twins shouted, wow, pointing at each other. I don't care who started it. If the 2 of you don't calm down and keep on like this, so help me, I will have to have your father deal with you when he comes back from his delivery. Is that clear? Both twins were now suddenly frightening in respect of their mother. They both sat up straight and bowed their head while saying, Yes, ma'am. We're sorry. Thank you, said Miss Cake. Now please behave yourselves. We have a few guests that were starving. Hold on, let me get my drink. Hold on. Alright, back to the story. After their mother went to their previous room, she was in Pumpkin and Pound's both gasped upon seeing who's sitting in front of the counter. Ooh, look, Pound, said Pumpkin excitedly. It's the Crusaders. Hey, guys. Alvin was still smiling of amusement of seeing those 2 being talked down to by their mother, but she just waved back, saying, Hey, Pumpkin, and hey, Pound. And hey, Pound, nice to see y'all, too. And don't you 2 look cute and adorable as ever, said Sweetie Belle. The brother Pound Cake suddenly went up to Scootaloo, jumping up and down, and said, Hey, Miss Scootaloo, have I ever told you how awesome I think you are and Miss Rainbow Dash are? Like 1,000,000 times, Scootaloo replied, while scratching her head and awkwardly smiling. Ooh, said Sweetie Belle as she lightly elbowed Scootaloo on her side, smirking. Looks like someone has a little foolhood crush on a couple of ponies. Oh, knock it off, will you? Scootaloo chuckled. indulging us. He's 6, so it's not like he's understand love crush. Pumpkin Cake then went up to Apple Bloom, seeing her slightly bulging belly, and asked, "So, Miss Apple Bloom, what would have heard of around the town true? Are you going to be a mommy?" "Yeah, that's right. Exciting, huh? Do you know if it's a boy yet?" questioned Pound. "I'm pretty sure it's a boy. Boy fools are better." "Nuh-uh," said Pumpkin. "I think it's a girl. It would be better if it's a girl. Boys are gross and smell weird." "Hey, we're not that gross. Besides, girls can be gross too." "He's kind of right," Scootaloo admitted. "We girls can be a little gross too. Just ask Apple Bloom, and you're truly..." "Really?" said Pumpkin. "What have you done that could possibly be gross?" "Well, I held a bug, played in the dirt and mud, scratching my flank, picked my nose." Suddenly, Apple Bloom burped out loud again, shocking everyone around her. "That." "Ew," said Pumpkin in slight disgust. Pound, however, started giggling loudly, finding Apple Bloom's belch hilarious. "That was great. I told you, sis. I told you. Do again, Miss Apple Bloom. Do again, Miss Apple Bloom." Scootaloo just looked over at Pumpkin with a smirk and said, "Need I go on?" Declining to argue against it anymore, Pumpkin just nervously answered, "No, ma'am, I'm good." Then she looked back over at Apple Bloom and stated, "But anyway, I always decided that when I grow up one day, I want to become a great mom like me and Pounds. And I'm sure that you'll be a great mother too." Apple Bloom felt really proud of hearing a younger filly complimenting her, and she just gave a little nudie on her head. "Why, thanks, Chin." And vice versa. I can't pronounce that. "Hey, Pumpkin," Pound shouted out from the front door. "Want to play tag outside?" And no cheating this time. Pumpkin smirked at her brother, feeling egged on. "Okay, I don't need my magic to beat you anyway." She then waved at the others as she followed after her brother. "Bye." "Those two are really cute and fun to have around," said Apple Bloom to her friends. "Miss and Mr. Poundcake are lucky to have them." "Yeah," Scootaloo scoffed, "but I'm pretty sure that they're a handful to deal with. Something else for you to look forward to." "Yeah." Pretty sure Miss Cake came back out into the room, pushing a car that had the dishes that each crusader ordered. "Your order already, girls. Blueberry cookies for Sweetie Belle, a large-sized rainbow berry Danish for Scootaloo, and these for Apple Bloom." As Miss Cake sat the dish in front of Apple Bloom's, Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle looked at it was questionable looks, and Sweetie Belle asked her, "Wow, that's a lot. Are you sure you can handle it, AB?" "You're darn right I can," shouted Apple Bloom with confidence. "My appetite can handle anything." As they began to eat, Miss Kate just went on her way, cleaning up around the shop. "Well, I have to leave you girls into this while I clean up around here." But then, thinking about the Cake twins and what Scootaloo said, Apple Bloom paused in her eating and said, "Hey, Miss Cake." "Yes, Apple Bloom?" She said, turning back around to the older fillies. "I was thinking, since you are married and have become a mother of 2 fools, do you have any possibly motherly advice for me?" Miss Cake was suddenly at a loss for words. She wasn't expecting Apple Bloom to ask her this sort of questions. "Ooh, you're asking me for advice. I'm flattered." "Yeah, tell me. How hard was it raising a fool from birth, let alone two? Miss Kate didn't think that she was pure mother expert, but yet she just figured that she had enough experience to give some pointers. Well, it was definitely unexpected to say the least, seeing that both Carrot and I are both Earth ponies, yet we somehow were able to convince a unicorn and a Pegasus. How Carrot explained it still confused me as a bit. Us too, all Christians agreed. As Miss Cake kept talking, the others were listening, and Apple Bloom just kept lighting but rapidly eating her cake slice. But in case it didn't change of how much we loved them, but of course we're going to do all that we could have to do best to our abilities, raise them with a bit help from Pinkie Pie too. So raising them was not easy, I will ask. Far from it. Those two always seem to keep us from our toes at all times. The only main times they didn't is when you're asleep, and even then you have to be ready to in case they wake up. But things got even more complicated when those two started to tap into their abilities. I think it started when Pinkie babysat them for the first time. Pound flying up in the hard to reach places, Pumpkin phasing though things and always getting loose. And every once in a while, Pumpkin would have a burst of magic accidentally. And what happened each time was always random. It was kind of heretic. Oh, wow, Salem hesitating. It must been very hard for you too, and Pinkie. Oh, but don't worry, Miss Kate chuckled. I'm sure you have to put up with what we had. That's just our life. But despite everything, we were very happy. We love our children very much and always wanted what's best for them. Apple Bloom understood where Miss Cake was coming from with her exclamation, but now she wanted to make sure of what it was exciting that she had to do. So, what can I possibly do to become a good mother? Well, first off, learn to say no. Carrot and I learned the hard way that it was always given in demands of your children. They're just become spoiled and walk all over you. Ooh, that makes sense, said Sweetie Belle. My mom said that she had the same experience with Rarity and me. Well, we all have our rebellious moments, Sweetie Belle. Miss Cake admitted that just part of the growing up. But next, Apple Blue, do whatever it takes to keep them away from bad influence. Well, maybe not whatever it takes, but do what you can. I'm sure you already know what it's when children pick up bad behavior. It causes major stress and tension between the child and parents. So unless you don't care what your child learns, you must be careful of what you do, where you go, and what you say with your child around. Suddenly, Scootaloo bit her tongue while eating her Danish and shouted in pain, "Ah, Celestia, damn it! I bite my tongue!" Apple Bloom and Scootaloo widened their eyes. Their Pegasus friend and Miss Cake lowered her eye and started kind of like that. Scootaloo blushed and chuckled nervously. Sorry. And last but most important thing about being a mother, at least to me, it's always, and I mean always, be there for your child no matter what. That sounds deep, said Apple Bloom. And, I mean, it's to most parents really care about what parents do to their children and do all they can do to support them. If they're happy, to be happy for them. If they're sad, to comfort them. If they're angry or upset, don't scold them or complain about their behavior. But try to understand what they're going through and work things out the best for your abilities. Try all things methods, and I'm sure that you make a good mother. Hearing all what Miss Cake had to say about motherhood, Apple Bloom started to have a second thought of everything she was thinking of. Wow, being a mother really is challenging. Not that I thought that wasn't. I never knew parents to go through so much, said Scootaloo with some concern. Are you sure you're ready for this, Apple Bloom? Of course I am, but I guess I was just being too excited that I just didn't understand how important being a mother was. Just now I know how Spike feels. He probably knew of this sort of thing before I did. Just then Scootaloo's eyes widened. She gasped as she shouted, "Hey, check it out!" Apple Bloom finished all three slices of her pies. "No way!" "Huh?" said Scootaloo, staring at Apple Bloom with empty plate. "Whoa," said Miss Cake, seeing evidence herself. Apple Bloom was a bit surprised herself. She just kept eating while listening to Miss Cake's advice, completely obvious that she had already finished. "Heh, see? I told you I was hungry." "Well, anyway," said Miss Cake, "don't be worried. You'll be just fine. You and Spike together will bring great joy to this fold because both of you are kind and caring. As long as you both do your parts, you'll survive. Trust me." Suddenly, Apple Bloom released a huge brrr and then covered her mouth while blushing from embarrassment. My complaints to the chef." "Oh my," Miss Kate chuckled. "I guess you should be flattered." "Kinda gross, but impressive," said Sweetie Belle. "Well, thank you for this talk," said Apple Bloom. "It's definitely helped me understand more of what I gotten myself into. I'll be sure to comfort Spike on this." "You're very welcome, dear. But speaking of Spike, there's another perk of being pregnant and giving birth. The husband usually has to do all the heavy lifting while you laze around." Miss Cake and Apple Bloom gave each other little sly faces, and Apple Bloom chuckled slightly. "Ugh, something to look forward to." Just then, all of them heard a loud boom, sounds that almost shook the house and scared them all half to death. "Dear Lord, what was that?" shouted Miss Kate. Suddenly, Pout nervously walked in the form of the front door and said, Mom, I'm afraid that your flower bed is, a bit wrecked." "I didn't do it," shouted Pumpkin from a distance. Still sporting wide eyes, the crusader looked over at Miss K to see how she reached. She just slightly smiled and told them, "Kids, what are you going to do?" It finally came to that time for the week for Apple Bloom's second appointment at the Ponyville Health Care Center to find out what gender her newborn was going to be. That is, if she wanted to know. She went there while occupied by her big sister Applejack and of course Spike. Nurse Rhyme, along with Nurse Redheart, occupying Apple Bloom throughout the test process, and then left her with Applejack and Spike in a separate room while they were to discover the results. When they came to them, they gave Apple Bloom the big decision. Well, Albloom, said Nurse Rhyme, the time has come for the reveal your full gender, that is. We can tell you what it is, said Redheart, but only if you wish to know what it is now. we have to ask to every mare that becomes pregnant, you know. Albloom became a bit nervous, not sure if it was ready to know yet, months before her birth date. But she had already talked it over with Spike, who was still a bit nervous himself. He just smiled and nodded his head as Applebloom turned back to the nurse and said, well, Spike and I talked it over, and we decided that we would love to know what I'm having. Applejack, thought still not proud of what her young sister did, couldn't help but smile and shed a small teardrop, seeing how she was taking responsibility. Okay then, said Nurse Rhyme, smirking a bit. Congratulations, you're having twins. What? Shouted Applejack. Both Albloom and Spike froze and almost fell over each other while shouting, twins? Nah, I'm only kidding, but I got you though, did I? Redheart smirked while shaking her head. What the hell's wrong with you? Shouted Spike in panic. My heart literally leapt in my stomach. Sorry, I tend to mess with some of my patients every once in a while, as long as it's not something that will endanger her job, Nurse Redheart added. So, they're not having twins, right? Applejack asked unsurely. No, said Nurse Rhyme, but they are having a baby boy. A huge sigh of relief came out of Applebloom, and Spike feeling a bit comfortable of Nurse Rhyme lying. A boy, huh? Said Spike nervously. Okay, I can live with that. But you would have lived if it was a girl too, right? Said Applebloom. Of course. I was just being happy of having one boy instead of twins is all. Just checking. Congratulations, you two, said Applejack, placing her hope around her sister. Now you know what to expect. Just wait until Big Mac hears, and he'll be getting a nephew. He'll be so happy. I bet he will, said Applebloom. So, anything any of you want to say or ask? Suddenly, Spike marched right over to Nurse Rhyme with smoke coming with his nostrils and his claws pointing at her. Yeah, scare me like that again, and I will hurt you. Whoa, okay, said Applebloom as she pulled Spike away from the shocked nurse. There will be no threatening to the nurse, Spike. We need her. Spike took a deep breath and glared back at her, back at Miss Rhyme. Yeah, lucky for her. Wow, said Redheart. That was something. You're telling me, said Rhyme, feeling a bit chill go down her spine. I didn't think he was going to take that joke so seriously. Applejack just chuckled, seeing her sister watching over the brooding dragon. Don't worry, Spike. That's just the more terrifying and scary dragon's part of him taken. Alright. This chapter is more longer than I expected. Dang, this is probably the longest video I probably have ever done. Alright, guys. Minus the streams, though. Alright, guys. So, yeah. Like always, I'm so sick of the same town with the same place and the same faces. Catch you later.